Hi everybody, welcome to problem 2 of my Leetcode hard database question series, where I'm going to attempt to solve every hard Leetcode database problem and walk through my thought process, how I approached the problem, how I solved it, and yeah, so I already solved this question like 10 minutes ago and realized I messed up the video. So bear with me, it's not quite as fresh, like I definitely was able to solve it. But in the future, in other videos, I'd like to solve ones where I haven't had as much time to like prepare. My first video was like very concise, what I thought was a very optimal solution. This one I was able to solve, but I think it'd be more interesting, like and a better learning opportunity for me if I can see something kind of recently and then like work through it front to back on video. So we'll go through this one again. I thought it was a good question. We did 1635 Hopper Company Queries 1. So let me click into here. Like I mentioned in my first video, the way that I like to solve these problems is I like to read the prompt first, get an idea of what I'm being asked, what data they want to see returned, just kind of get an idea of what they're looking for. And then when I'm looking at the example data, I kind of have an idea of, I'm start to able to key in on some columns, some of the data, and start to formulate my approach to the solution. And then finally, I'll look at the output, and that'll give me hints as well of how do they want things formatted, or should I be grouping by a certain field, things of that nature. So let's dive in. Write a SQL query to report the following statistics for each month of 2020. The number of drivers currently with the Hopper Company by the end of the month, active drivers, the number of accepted rides in that month, accepted rides, and return the result table ordered by month in ascending order, where month is the month's number. So January is 1, February is 2, etc. The query result format is in the following example. Okay, so if we're looking at these tables, immediately I'm thinking we need to group by month. So if we come down and look at the output, we see 1, 2, 3, all the way to 12. So we have each month in the year 2020. And we have the number of active drivers. So anyone who had a join date prior to or part of that month. And then accepted rides. So any rides in this table that took place in that month and are in the accepted rides table. So ideally, I would like to use one of these tables as my base table. My dog just came to come hang out and also solve SQL. So I'd like to use one of these as my base table, but the problem that I think is if we were to do it off of the rides table, there is no ride during January of 2020. So if we did a group by of the requested at column and like the month of the requested at column, we wouldn't have a row for January. So my approach is to create a month table or a month temp table, and I'm going to do that through a CTE, so a common table expression. There probably is a way more elegant way to do this, and would love to hear your thoughts on how you solved it. But I will go that route. So I'm going to do with month ID as, and a CTE essentially, it's kind of like creating a temp table that I'm able to reference in my main query essentially. And so here I'll do select one as month, union all, select two as month, etc. Bear with me, I know this is probably incredibly boring or incredibly exciting. One of the two. Union all, select 5 as month, union all, select 6 as month. So we need to do this for all 12 months. So I'm just going to cheat and copy and paste here. Union all. Oop, I didn't press control. Okay, cool. So now we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, sorry, my dog is rolling around in the back. I don't know if you can see him. Maybe. There he is. Just got a bath, so he's rolling on the carpet. Anyways, that is incredibly distracting. Okay, so let's just test this and make sure that it is kind of working the way I want it to. So we're going to do m.star from month ID m. And like I mentioned before, I really like to alias my tables. I just think it's a lot easier to understand where your source data is coming from. So run, cool. It returns what I want, and it returns it in order, which is another, I guess, benefit of doing this union business. Cool, so we have the month now, and actually I'm just going to throw in the group by, because I know I'll need that, by m.month. Cool. And I'm going to throw in m.month here as well. So next, let's attack active drivers. We want to find all drivers who have a join date either equal to or prior to that month. So if I do a left join here, and I'm going to do a subquery because I'm going to exclude some drivers. I don't want the whole drivers table. I only want drivers that are either from 2020 or before. So let's do select d.driverID, month of d.joinDate as d month, and then year of d.joinDate as d year from the drivers d table, where 1 equals 1, and this is what I don't want where year d join date is less than 2021. If they join in 2021, they don't matter. Well, they matter to us, but they're not part of this problem. We're only looking at 2020 statistics. So let's just take that edge case completely out of the equation, and let's only go with drivers in 2020 or prior. We'll name this table D, and what we're going to join on is we're going to join on d month is less than or equal to m.month, or d year is less than 2020. So what this is essentially saying is I want a list of drivers. I want the month they joined and the year they joined. And I only want them if they were prior to 2021. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to join this on if the driver's month is less than or equal to the month that we're querying, then I'm counting them as an active driver. Or if they were a driver prior to 2020, like say they were in December of 2019, this would just fail because we're just looking at the month number, we're not looking at the year. But because the problem's kind of made it simple for us that if they joined prior to 2020, they are active in all of our 2020 months, no questions asked. So that's pretty easy. So we can test that out now. So let's do a count distinct. Though it looks like it is a distinct table, let's do a count distinct just to be safe. d.driverID as, and let's see what they want us to format it as, active drivers. Active drivers. So let's give this a whirl and see if we match what our example is. So 1 2 1 2 2 3 2 3 3 4 3 4. So it looks like we're on the right path. I'm not going to check all of them, but it seems like we're good for the most part. So sweet, 2 columns done, 1 to go. Next, we're going to find accepted rides. I think we can do something similar. In fact, it might even be easier than the drivers bit. So we want, from the rides table now, we want the r.rideID and the month of r.requestedAt. And we're going to name that as r month. As you can tell, I'm incredibly creative with my names. And then we're going to do from rides r. And here's where it gets a little tricky, I guess. I only want accepted rides. So I only want rides from this table that are also in this table. And so if I do an inner join on the accepted rides table, accepted rides on r.rideid is equal to ar.rideid, if they're not, since it's an inner join, the ride ID has to exist in both tables. So if that ride ID is not in accepted rides, then it will not show up as part of this query. So now we've limited our left join to only accepted rides. And then also, we only want, because again, we only have month numbers up here. We don't have year numbers, but we don't care about years that aren't 2020, specifically for rides. Drivers, we had to like look at pre-2020 drivers, but rides, we only want 2020 rides. So we're going to do aware year r.requestedAt for only accepted rides is equal to 2020. So this will give us only 2020 rides that are accepted. We'll name this table R, and we're going to join this on m.month is equal to r.rmonth. So this will give us, for each month we're querying, the number of rides that were in that month. So we'll do another count distinct r.rideid, and what should we name this? Accepted rides as accepted rides. Cool. So this all looks good. Let's run this, see if we pass the initial test case. We do. That's awesome. So let's run through our logic one more time before we press submit, just to make sure we don't think we're missing any use cases or edge cases. So we wrote essentially a date table as a CTE that gives us every single month in ascending order. So when we return this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc., all the way down to 12. Then for each of those months that we're grouping by, so one row per month, we want the number of distinct drivers and the number of distinct rides. To find that, we did a left join of all drivers. So we created a list of driver IDs who had joined prior to 2021, so 2020 or before, and we're counting them if their month is less than or equal to the month we're querying. So say we're querying February, we're bringing in February and January drivers, or any driver that joined prior to 2020. So if they are in 2019, 2017, if they joined in 1944, we're bringing them in. So that gives us all of our active drivers. Then for rides, we're getting a list of rides that occurred in the year of 2020 and are part of this accepted rides table, and we're joining that on the month. So for every month we're querying, if we're querying April, we want all rides that also have a ride month of April. And so fingers crossed, let's submit it. A little anticlimactic because I'm pretty sure this works since I have already done this. Accept it again, and we're faster this time. Look at that. So faster than 17% of online submissions. Cool. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. Hopefully this was informative. Let me know if you were able to solve this a different way, if you have a better solution than this crazy month table, or just how you approached it. Very interested to learn from all of you as well. And I will see you next time. Thank you very much.